Hello, this is Mr. Chabry, and we're here with another narrated Pokemon battle. So this is a battle against Gamer MZ. This is going to be a rarely used battle, and I'm using Mega Ampharos as my Mega. It's a Mega I haven't really used that often because it's kind of outclassed by a lot of things, but I really want to try it out here, and this is actually going to be a Trick Room team. We've got Cofagrigus here, Mega Ampharos, and Chesnaught. They're going to take advantage of the Trick Room. So we're going to see what we can do. Of course, we've also got Typhlosion. Typhlosion, I've been doing some pretty good stuff in the PGBL with that one, but we're going to try it out here. So I'm going to lead Cofagrigus as my opponent leads Tyrantrum, and my opponent's going to lock himself into Outrage. Of course, this could be a Scarf set, but we take that okay. But I don't really want to take another Outrage because that means we lose Cofagrigus, and it's not a good idea to lose our Trick Roomer right off the bat. And I don't want to risk missing, even if this thing survives, because this is actually a Cofagrigus with Trick Room, and it's more of an offensive Trick Room set. So now I'm going to go into my Fortress. Fortress can take any of these Outrages, and I do think my opponent is choice locked. I mean, Outrage has locked it into Outrage, but I do think it's also choice locked. I know for a fact I can get up some Toxic Spike, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. And of course now it's finally out of that Outrage, so my opponent can actually switch out, and I do think my opponent will switch out. So I'm actually going to Volt Switch out this turn. And I do think my opponent might bring in Necrozma. I do know Necrozma has access to Heat Wave now. It's a move it used to not get, but now it does. And this one actually has the Lumberry, so that's just something to keep note of. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just Volt Switch out so I can bring in something to threaten the Necrozma, and I'm going into my Cofagrigus. Of course, this thing is my Trick Room setter, and I really, really want Trick Room up. But at this point, I want to get rid of this Necrozma. Necrozma is kind of a threat. It has Heat Wave. It probably has Shadow Ball, maybe. And I do know it probably could take some hits, so I'm going to go ahead, pop my Z move, a Never-Ending Nightmare, and that should be able to finish off Necrozma. I don't want Necrozma to be doing a lot of shenanigans, because I do know it can set up Stealth Rocks as well. But we're going to go ahead, get rid of this thing, and it's going to work out for me. So I can set up Trick Room pretty easily, of course. I'm going to have to, decide if I want to stay in, because this Jolteon could be a problem for me. Because Cofagrigus is more of a physically bulky Pokemon. I'm going to decide to switch out because, like I said, it's a physically bulky Pokemon. It's not as good on the special side. So I'm going to go into Chesnaught. Of course, Chesnaught is a physically bulky Pokemon too, but I don't think Jolteon really has anything that can really threaten Chesnaught. So I'm going to come in, take a Thunderbolt, and Jolteon's going to be hurt by its poison. So I'm trying to whittle this thing down. Of course, I really need to get Chesnaught out and Cofagrigus back in. But my opponent's actually going to hit me with a Hidden Power, and I do think that's Hidden Power Ice, and it does a lot of damage. So, unfortunately, that's going to be really bad, but we're just going to go Drain Punch here. And we're going to get a little bit of health back, but that kind of hit really hard. I'm kind of... I was kind of nervous about that, and the poison will finish off the Jolteon where the Drain Punch did not. So, like I said, I do really want to get Cofagrigus back in here so I can get the Trick Room. That's going to help me out because then my Chesnaught would outspeed pretty much everything on my opponent's team. Of course, my opponent also has a Chesnaught, so we're going to have to play around that. And this Chesnaught that I have is actually a bulk up set. I used it in the Kalos Classic a while back. So yeah, it's got bulk up, Earthquake, Drain Punch, and Spiky Shield, and I'm going to go Spiky Shield so I can get a little bit more health back. I really, really need some more health back, and this thing's going to slowly take some damage from that poison. So I'm going to go ahead and switch out. I don't really want to stay in right here because my Chesnaught's at pretty low health, and I'm going to go into Honchkrow as my opponent goes Spiky Shield. So this Honchkrow does have Heat Wave. It does have mostly dark moves like Sucker Punch, but it's also got Brave Bird, and Brave Bird is looking very good. Of course, I'm going to actually go Heat Wave, mainly because I'm predicting possibly a switch, but my opponent does not switch. So unfortunately, that means we don't take it out because this thing does not have that great special attack. It's more of a physical attacker. It just has Heat Wave for coverage, but unfortunately, Chesnaught will survive the heat wave. Of course, Brave Bird probably would have taken it out, but I was kind of nervous about a spiky shield, and I honestly thought my opponent would switch out. But my opponent doesn't, so now, of course, I'm going to have to switch out. I don't really think it's a good idea to keep in my Hunch Crow, and I'm going to bring in the Fortress as my opponent goes for a spiky shield, and it's not going to do anything because I just switched out. But yeah, we have Fortress back on the field, and I'm hoping to start setting up some more spikes, maybe. It might not really matter at this point. But yeah, my opponent's going to switch out that Chesnaught and bring in Noivern. So Noivern is kind of a scary Pokemon for me. This thing has a lot of moves it can go for. And I'm actually going to go Rapid Spin here because I want to get rid of the spikes on my side of the field. If I can get rid of my opponent's Chesnaught, that means I don't have to worry about entry hazards. But I'm actually going to swap out here because I do know Noivern sometimes carries Flamethrower, and I don't want to take a Flamethrower to the face on my Fortress. So I'm actually going to go into my Cofagrigus as it actually goes Heat Wave. So that's actually pretty interesting. And then my opponent told me this was actually a misclick, that Boom Burst, which actually that misclick is going to cost my opponent the speed control. So I'm sorry about that, Gamer MZ, but sometimes misclicks do happen, and of course I'm going to get the Trick Room up, and my opponent's actually going to swap out. My opponent doesn't want to take a nasty hit, and I'm actually going to Shadow Ball. That will take care of the Noivern pretty well, but my opponent brings in Chesnaught, which is actually a very good switch-in. So yeah, Shadow Ball is not going to do anything to that bulletproof Chesnaught. And I'm going to actually switch out here, Cofagrigus. I kind of want to keep it around because, of course, I still want to get some Trick Rooms up later on. And I'm going to go into Ampharos. I'm hoping Ampharos can start doing some work. This thing has a crazy high special attack, and it's actually slower than Chesnaught, I do believe, especially after it Megas. And I should be able to take this thing out with a Dragon Pulse because Mega Ampharos has crazy high special attack. Chesnaught has not that high special defense, so I'm going to go ahead, have my Fabio sheep here, and it's going to show off its woolly hair, and now it's going to just try to hit with this Mold Breaker ability. I like that Mold Breaker ability, but of course this thing does have Spiky Shield. It's going to give it another turn of recovery, but I don't think it really matters that much because yeah, Chesnaught, it's not even with this recovery, it's not going to be high enough to take a Dragon Pulse. So I do think the Spiky Shield, I mean, my opponent's trying to stop this Mega Ampharos from sweeping, trying to stall out those Trick Rooms. Mega Ampharos really needs the Trick Rooms to do what it does, and now I'm going to hit with the Dragon Pulse, and this will be a gone Chesnaught. So that actually works out for me because now my opponent's Spiker is gone. We don't have to worry about spikes on my side of the field. So now Noivern is going to come out, and of course the Twisted Dimensions have went back to normal. We no longer have that Trick Room. We do still have Cofagrigus though, and my opponent's actually going to go Boom Burst here. I'm going to actually stay in because I don't have anything that really wants to switch into a possible Draco Meteor, and I'm just going to hit Dragon Pulse, and Ampharos actually survives the Boom Burst, so that actually turned out pretty well. This thing actually is doing some decent work. So now Tyrantrum is going to come back out, and Ampharos does not like this matchup at all, because yeah, Ampharos is at pretty low health, and Tyrantrum has a lot of things it can do to take out Ampharos. It could go for Earthquake, could go for an Outrage. So yeah, my opponent, instead of locking himself into Outrage again, where I can basically do whatever I want to, he's going to just go ahead and Earthquake this time, and I go into Cofagrigus, mainly to sack it off, maybe. It would have been nice to get that Trick Room, but looking at my opponent's team, I do think Chesnaught will be able to finish this game on its own. So I'm actually going to go into Chesnaught now, and my opponent's last two Pokemon is the Tyrantrum and the Blastoise, and I'm pretty sure this is my opponent's Mega. Of course, we do have to worry about a possible Ice Beam from this Blastoise, and I don't actually have an offensive Grass-type move on this Chesnaught, so that's going to give us some trouble. I'm going to just go for a Drain Punch. That will give us some health back, and of course, that's really nice, and this Blastoise is poisoned, so it's going to slowly lose some health. I'm not going to stay in because I do think Ice Beam is coming, and I'm going to sack off my Ampharos. I don't think Ampharos is going to do anything for us. Mega Blastoise will outspeed Ampharos, and honestly, the the Tyrantrum will also outspeed Ampharos. So we're going to just sack it off. It's done its job. It's, took out some Pokemon. And yes, my opponent will go Ice Beam. Actually, no, my opponent goes Scald. And that actually means Ampharos survives. But, of course, like I said, Blastoise is faster. And the subsequent Ice Beam will be enough. My opponent was probably going for Scald, trying to get a burn on my Chesnaught. That's something that would really hurt Chesnaught here, getting burnt like that. But I went into Ampharos to sack it off, and that's what we do. And now I go Typhlosion. I do think Typhlosion might be able to, finish off this Blastoise here. And I'm going to go Hidden Power Grass. So yeah, it's going to be enough to finish off Blastoise. Of course, this is a Scarf set. So, yeah, we're locked into Hidden Power Grass, but I do think it's fine to sack off Typhlosion because Tyrantrum is faster, and it doesn't matter what I do at this point, Tyrantrum would be able to take out Typhlosion, even if I switched it out and ended up bringing it back in. So we're going to let Typhlosion take one for the team. I'm sorry, Typhlosion, but you did your job. You took out Mega Blastoise, and you did some chip damage on this Tyrantrum. So Tyrantrum is not in a good position, and we're going to go Chesnaught. So Chesnaught should be able to take a head smash pretty well because this thing has beautiful defense. I love Chesnaught. It's got really good defense. But yeah, we're going to take this head smash, and it's going to live, and it's going to fire back with a Drain Punch, and that will be the game. So good game there, Gamer MZ. I really do like using some of these Pokemon I haven't used in a while. Mega Ampharos is an interesting Pokemon. I haven't used that in a long time, and I'm glad to try it out on a Trick Room team. I'm actually glad to try out Typhlosion again in a rarely used battle. It's a Pokemon that's by usage down in PU, but it's actually banned where you can't use it in PU, so it's actually in never used. But it actually does some decent work if you use it. So if you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you in the next Pokemon video.